Hello, everyone watching this. Today, my teammate Ani Gharibian and myself, Samvel Shahumyan, are going to talk about trust in the scope of an organization, both the external trust and the internal trust, so the trust between the employees and the leadership. Um, we're going to talk about what causes trust damage, what consequences it has, and what are the strategies to repair the broken trust. Firstly, why trust matters in the organization. So when you have a trustworthy organization, you have a high level of cooperation, ethical behavior, your work is very effective, and you use your resources very optimally. So in this presentation, we are going to focus on the BBC case of trust damage, and then we're going to move to a more general form and give some solutions for repairing trust. So let my teammate Ani start with introducing the BBC's case.
Hi everyone. Now I will continue and we'll dive into our case study, the BBC scandal. And first of all, let's understand what exactly happened. In 2007, a major ethical breach occurred during BBC's Blue Peter's children program, and due to technical failure, audience responses to a charity phoning competition couldn't be received and recorded. Under pressure, a junior employee asked the children in the studio to pose as the winner, and this deception was not reported or corrected. It was, on the other hand, encouraged and praised by the production team as a way to keep the show going. This incident later became public and sparked major outrage. Of course, there were a lot of public consequences after that incident. After that scandal, public reaction was not limited to disappointment about one program. Viewers started to question generally the BBC's consent and authenticity. The BBC's reputation as a reliable public institution was damaged, and the breach struck a nerve because it involved a charity competition for children, which is a particularly sensitive context. And once lost, a public trust proved difficult to regain. Of course, besides external damage, there was also internal breakdown of trust. Employees began to fear of speaking up and worried that they could lose their jobs. They created an unhealthy work culture where mistakes were hidden rather than addressed on the first place. And the leadership handling of the situation made many employees feel unsupported and unsafe in that kind of situations. And repairing this internal trust required more than just the surface level actions, it required changing the culture internally. As mentioned, the technology also played a huge role in this crisis, and the scandal revealed how the misuse of technology can fuel trust issues. New tools enabled live interactions and increased audience engagements, but they also introduced pressure to respond in real time and not to fail on air. In the absence of protocol for tech failures, unethical shortcuts were made. And this case shows that without ethical oversight, even useful technologies can lead to poor decision. Now let's talk about what BBC did. What was the BBC's immediate response after the crisis? To begin repairing its reputation, BBC took visible steps. They suspended all interactive phone-in content across all platforms. A public apology was issued acknowledging fault, which is a crucial step in order to start repairing the reputation. Internal investigations were launched to identify weaknesses in editorial practices. And all these actions helped to contain the damage, but rebuilding credibility required deeper and more long-term efforts than just a public apology. Executive leadership's role. Leadership had to manage both the immediate fallout and long-term reform. They took responsibility for issuing public apologies and overseeing internal reviews. Editorial structures were reviewed and reorganized, and their actions were guided by legal obligations, reputational risk, and the need to regain the public's confidence. This case highlights how the leadership accountability plays a crucial role in restoring the trust in such kind of crisis. Also, let's talk about the pressure on content creators. Editors, producers, and presenters played a central role in this incident. They were under immense pressure to maintain viewers' engagement, and the fake winner decision reflected this desperation to meet performance goals and not ethical standards on the first place. After the incident, staff were required to undergo training, but some felt that these new rules kind of stifled the creativity. This tension revealed how performance pressure can conflict with trust and integrity and ethical rules as well. Compliance and oversight failures. The team responsible for ethical oversight and compliance also failed in this situation, as they did not detect the violation early enough or act on internal risks. This failure undermines trust in oversight systems, and post-crisis, these teams introduced new tools and clearer processes to improve detection and accountability. This case shows that oversight mechanisms must evolve to meet modern challenges.
Okay, so let me take from here. Ani introduced the critical players behind this case. Let me introduce three forces behind the crisis. So we have legal, cultural, and ethical forces. Legal thing is they breached the broadcasting regulations. The cultural was they were pressured to prioritize results over integrity, and the ethical was deliberate deception of the public. They had a fake winner. So these forces combined created a perfect failure for the trust. So once the trust is broken, let me introduce some steps how you can recover the trust. I will just briefly go over them and then highlight two most important steps in my opinion. So at first you must admit fault publicly. Then you take immediate corrective action. You reform editorial guidelines, repair internal culture. You need to have an ethical leadership. You have to use the technology responsible. You have to involve employees in reforms, and of course, you need to be consistent over time. So what are the two most crucial steps? First one is the ethical leadership. So leadership needs to have long-term goals and values to project them onto the employees. So, for example, rewarding results over integrity will create a long-term harm. So leadership should promote honesty, transparency, and open communication. And leadership is a example for employees. So only through example can leadership rebuild the organization's moral core. So they are leading, and everyone else should follow. So if the leadership doesn't have the right mindset, the right value system, nothing can work really. And what is the second step? Second most important step is, of course, consistency over time. When you have trust broken, there is no easy way out of that. So you need to use all the steps mentioned, and you need to do it consistent during a long time before the trust slowly repairs. The BBC had to prove over time that the reforms were real. And through long-term consistency, they created a reliable reputation for themselves. So, as I said, sustainable change cannot be rushed. It must be earned daily. So that is the second most important step. What lessons we can gather from the BBC case? Trust is fragile. Of course, one mistake is causing a huge damage to trust. Technology must be managed responsibly. Ani also talked about it a little bit. Ethical leadership and culture are essential, as I said, and the culture is really tied to ethical leadership. Transparent communication and accountability are powerful tools, and trust can be rebuilt only through consistent and authentic action. So that was all. Thank you for your attention.